your blue skies. I miss your clear blue skies and drinking water streams. I miss your mountains. I miss your sunrise and your watercolor scenes. Ooh, Alaska, I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
For 6 years, Jay Hammond and his crew have journeyed across Alaska. Down the trail, they met over 68 unique Alaskans doing unusual, uplifting, often courageous things in a land they trade for no other. As a pilot, commercial fisherman, writer, homesteader, and former governor, Jay's life mirrors the character and spirit of those Alaskans who have carved out a life to their own design. Alaskan is proud to have sponsored the Jay Hammond's Alaska series, an enduring tribute to the grandeur of Alaska's land and the warmth of its people. Join us for a celebration of the wonderful people who call Alaska home.
Alaska, I'm coming home.
How about that?
Alaska.
The sea proved to be a capricious ice mason. Opalescent blocks the size of a concert piano were balanced and angled in fantastic disarray. The colors drawn from this jumbled mass by the low-level Arctic sun were unbelievable. Each separate crystal reflected hues shading from delicate jade to the deep blue of a sea cavern.
Fred and Sara Machetanz have shared almost a lifetime of Arctic experiences. Memories of these are captured in Sara's books and Fred's work with brush and paint. Fred Machetanz has gained worldwide renown as a major artist. You can always tell his paintings by the unusual luminosity and translucence that have become trademarks of the master's work. Fred came to Alaska in 1935 and did commercial film work and photography in order to support his painting. A few years later, when he met Sara, their marriage and a creative collaboration began. Where were you married?
In Unalakleet.
In Unalakleet,
Honeymoon by dog team. I did get a bad start, though, because I wrote and asked him what I should wear, what clothes I should bring, and he said, use your own judgment. That was bad because I didn't know what the rigors would be, and I arrived at this little airstrip with high heels and open-toed shoes.
What was your impression of village life? It's a little shocking after the Philadelphia main line, wasn't it?
Well, yes, it had some interesting differences from the main line in Philadelphia, but I loved it too. It just was a wonderful experience, an adventure for me, and I learned an awful lot.
Life in the Arctic proved exciting and rugged. They both experienced excessive exposure to bitter cold. Now, you might think that I was the first one of us with a beard from this old photo. But Fred only grew his when he couldn't shave after freezing his face at 50 below. I've no such excuse, save perhaps that I'm simply lazy.
I grew a beard because I couldn't shave at all due to the...
after the face freezing.
Yes. And that was the picture of me in a beard that Sara sent to her mother. And in those days, beards...
Don't say anything derogatory about beards now, Fred.
They weren't as common as they are now.
No, I know.
And when they saw that, they thought she must have married, I don't know why.
My wife's mother responded the same way, I might say.
Is that right?
Well, the Machetanzes were roving Alaskan ambassadors. For 15 years, they traveled the lower 48, presenting films and lectures on the far north. With them, they always took along an old friend. What was so remarkable about it?
Seagull is an Eskimo name. It means ice, and he was white. A huge 96-pound white dog.
He was a member of the family. He was especially gentle, but and beautifully proportioned, beautiful white color. He helped us out from the very beginning, because the summer that we selected our land here and decided we would build here, and it was all solid forest then. You couldn't even see the mountains, but we had come in on a compass, and we figured if we built in a certain spot, got on the highest ridge, we would be able to see our view. Oh, isn't that lovely? Then, in late afternoon, we came to the Matanuska Valley, and here everything combined in an ultimate of scenic appeal. The valley floor lay before us, large as the state of Rhode Island, and tranquil in the blue haze of evening. It was completely surrounded by towering mountains, shading from deep purple at their bases to peppermint pink on their snow-covered tips. "That beats anything I've seen yet," Fred said. "Maybe this is it. Maybe this is where we should look for a place to build our home."
Here they raised their son Traeger and built the fine log home they call High Ridge. They continued to collaborate creatively, spending summers in the Matanuska Valley and winters roaming the Arctic, meanwhile recording experiences in both paint and print.
Without wasting words, he unhitched the kayak sled and pulled it to the edge of the water. Quickly, he unlaced the skin boat from its carrier, launched it, lowered himself into the opening, and paddled toward the spot where the seal had last come up for air.
His work received ever wider acclaim, and in 1962 inspired some Alaskans to support his first showing. This was a tremendous success. From then on, he was recognized for the exceptional talent he still displays every day at his easel. Fred, tell me a little bit about the process you've gone through here so far.
Well, this is called transparent oil painting. It's a painting which more or less used by all the artists before the 19th century. Titian, Vermeer, boys like that. The technique is you do your painting on the canvas in blue and white. And once that is dry, you put on layers of transparent color. Each layer has to dry before you put on the succeeding layer. You get a result where the finished picture, you're looking through the color instead of on the color. It's like colored glass.
Fred, why do you think people react so strongly to your paintings?
Well, I think they must enjoy the same things that I do. I love to see the mountains under these different aspects of climate and such. And the things I paint are really authentic and are from unique experiences I've had in Alaska. And I have become close in ties with the Eskimos and the old sourdoughs, and it all seems to go together and produce the final result. It is not necessarily the amount of money you get for a painting, but it gives me a thrill to think that people are looking at my work and enjoying it and thrilled to it.
I've been privileged to fly over most of Alaska for more than 40 years. And as I've looked down on this fantastic land, I've often thought of those early Alaskan aviation pioneers. Our early bush pilots often met the challenge of flying in rough weather over rugged terrain in planes held together with little more than baling wire, willpower, or prayer. This is the story of one of our greatest and most colorful pioneer bush pilots, Bob Reeve. As a young boy, Bob was fascinated by flying. He began his career barnstorming and then went on to pioneer airmail service in Peru. Hearing tales of golden opportunities to be found in Alaska, in 1932 he stowed away on a steamship and made his way up to Valdez. There he met another young adventure seeker, Janice Morissette. They were married in Valdez, and Bob called his new wife Tilly, after Tilly the Toilet, a popular comic strip of the day. Tell me, what was your first impression of Bob Reeve when you first met him?
The best-looking guy I'd ever seen in my life. And it never changed.
Yeah.
And when I met him, I just knew that's the guy for me.
Hi, how are you? Tilly took me to the Reeve Museum, a wonderful collection of Bob's old photos and memorabilia.
Start back here. When he got to Alaska, this is the way he dressed down here.
Bob Reeve seemed to be a hat man. You very seldom see him uncovered. That was kind of his
Here's
trademark.
his shop at Valdez. That was the shop that he had with the Model T and the Fairchild 51.
Bob gained renown for his mud-flat takeoffs and over 2,000 glacier landings. These earned him the title of our glacier pilot. Tilly helped Bob with the flying service, and somewhere between flights gave birth to their first son, Richard. This marked the beginning of a marriage between flying and family. Bob went on to attract worldwide attention for innovative and courageous flying. And as his reputation grew, so did his family. This prompted a move to Anchorage, where he began to fly the Aleutian chain. When World War II began, Bob was the only civilian bush pilot authorized to fly in the combat zone. Afterward, following his firm belief in paying cash, he bought surplus planes from the military. This marked the start of Reeve Aleutian Airways, which to this day subscribes to Bob's earthy demand that the intakes got to exceed the exhaust. Today, Reeve Aleutian Airways is a major scheduled airline with modern aircraft and a worldwide reputation for safety and service. Another legacy from Bob's days in Valdez. Many of the seasoned mechanics who Bob brought together in those early years still serve the airline today. Meanwhile, the Reeve children grew up with a deep commitment to family business and an abiding love for the Aleutians. They all have worked for the airlines. Daughter Janice became a stewardess and is now vice president of in-flight services. Son Richard moved up through the ranks to become chief pilot and is now president. And leading the board of Reeve Aleutian Airways is Tilly herself, officially and lovingly known as chairmom of the board. I first met Bob back in 1946 when he expressed interest in buying my old loaning amphibian. To a tenderfoot kid new to Alaska, dealing with Bob was a little like walking on broken glass. He seemed a pretty tough customer. It was some time before I no longer regretted that my airplane's engine blew up in midair before I had a chance to sell it to Bob. But like the rest of those who got to know him, I developed great respect and admiration for a man I was proud to call friend. Bob is no longer with us, but the legacy of his remarkable accomplishments, frugality, commitment to family and business, and crusty, colorful personality will live on, I suspect, at least until the Aleutian chain is linked up by land. One of Bob's favorite sayings was, "Flying beats work." But it seems that in his mind, flying, family, and work went quite well together, as Tilly found out on their first meeting.
He said he was going to be working on his airplane, and if I'd like to come up and see his airplane. He invited me up to see his airplane. And he put me to work.
Put you to work on it.
Yes, I varnished the skis.
Okay.
My start was at age 18, as soon as I graduated from high school, flying as a Reeve stewardess on DC-4s.
My first job with Reeve Airways, as I remember, was commensurate with my education and technical expertise. I was 11 years old, and so I was sent to Merrill Field to rake rocks.
Was there any favoritism ever shown? You were required to come up the hard way, I suspect.
I suppose so. I think there probably was a little bit of favoritism shown, and that was to everyone else, Jay.
Having to earn your own wings and carry your weight were required by Bob. It was part of the legacy which he passed on. Respect for hard work and demand for the very best from his airline family.
I resolved I hadn't up working for anybody else. I was a rather independent spirit, and I resolved that I was going to work for myself, and I was going to do it on my own.
He had a little problem delegating authority. You either do it my way or you're fired.
Did you have any strong-willed confrontations between the two of you? Or did you see eye to eye on every issue?
Oh, no. We saw eye to eye through his eyes in the early years.
He had to do it himself. I couldn't make a suggestion to him. That would turn him off. I mean, you know, it had to be his idea. So I learned to plant the seed.
Plant them. That's a great idea, Bob. And there was a lot of that, huh?
And I was flat broke, and I rented an airplane at $10 an hour, and I got enough of a stake with that to buy this fine Fairchild here, as has been all of our airplanes surplus.
That's where Bob was different. I mean, he always took such good care of his equipment. He worked with what we had. It's like this house, Jay. We started out with 4 rooms, and as the family grew, we didn't go out and buy a bigger house. We just added on to this one.
Oh, I understand you're still driving, what, a 67 Oldsmobile?
My 67 Oldsmobile out here, you bet. It was the first new car I had ever had, and I've taken good care of it.
You've kept it that way, huh?
And I'm just used to it, and it's used to me. We understand each other. And the boys at the auto shop out at the hangar, it's a company car, and so they keep it in beautiful shape because they want to be sure I can get out there to sign that paycheck.
I bet they do.
It was overtime one night, and it was dark in the wintertime. And Bob Reeve came by on the street there and saw the lights on. So he came in the hangar and see what was going on. And, you know, as Ernie Bowman and I was explaining what we was doing, I was fixing the goose up and had to do some work. He said, well, you got too many lights on. So he went around and turned out all the lights except one where we were standing.
Like
so
Lyndon Johnson.
So he started to walk out the door, and old Ernie saw hollered at him and says, hey, Bob, you forgot one. So he came back and turned it out and left us standing in the dark.
I don't know any other way to live, and the kids don't either.
And he always made a point to reinvest every nickel that he earned right back into the airline business. And that's not a bad philosophy. It has worked on into the second generation.
You've
also
continued that philosophy then, huh?
And due my own time friendship to you, I'm going to send you a lifetime pass between Chemie and Attu.
Between Chemie
and Attu.
And how do I get to Chemie?
You can buy a ticket there, $203, but you get 10% off for a round trip. Remember that.
He was a character, and I think he attracted characters. The collection of people that gathered here, I mean, are priceless, the whole bunch of them. I think it's a credit to him. Credit to them, too.
My father had the type of personality that fostered intense feelings. Your intense feeling to begin with was one of animosity, but he also fostered intense loyalty.
We have so many employees that have been with us so many years. It's like a family out there at the airport.
Good afternoon, Reeve Reservations.
It's a free world. You don't have to work here. But there are a couple of hundred people that seem to like it very much.
Your airline is obviously a family affair of sorts. Do any of your children still work for the airlines?
My wife Carol and I have 6 children, And we have found work in Reeve Airways for them also. 2 of them are on the job this morning. Our youngest daughter, Crystal, is now working in our accounting department as fuels clerk. My number 5 son, Mike, is working on the ramp, dispatching the aircraft away from the gate. And
Not raking rocks like
he's not raking rocks.
What brings you guys, if not out of retirement, resisting retirement? Is it some sort of company loyalty or attractions of working that keep you aboard?
Just grows up with you, you know, just like people that drive dogs or things like that, why it gets in their blood.
Well, there must have been something about Bob that inspired this sort of loyalty concept.
I think he demanded it of people.
We just
and if they
would accept
didn't,
nothing less.
Yes, I remember when people would come in to the office looking for a job, and he'd say, well, where have you worked? And if they said, well, I was 6 months so-and-so, and then 8 months someplace else. And you don't stick around very long, do you? And, oh, but I'm ready to settle down now. He'd send them to Coal Bay. And they'd work there, and if they panned out, then, boy, they were in.
Well, you had a choice. You were loyal or you were fired.
Well, that's consistent.
I quit flying here some years ago because I ran out all my luck, all my friends' luck, and about 10,000 other people's luck. That's the reason I quit.
The last trip he had made down to Umnak or wherever, he realized that he had missed something on his checklist. And so that's when he stopped flying.
My dad had some of the finest tuned survival instincts of anyone I had ever seen. He did things that were absolutely incredible, but one of his comments was, I always had the ability to say no, even to myself. And if it was time to get out of a situation, he got out of it before it killed him.
How many islands are there in the Aleutian chain?
You want me to tell the truth? I couldn't tell you because every now and then some pilot there, after he's wandering around the forward reports finding an island that's you've never seen before.
He just liked the area, just like the crews do now. I mean, they just like the Aleutians.
Well,
Janice has built herself a house at Coal Bay.
That's what I understand.
Her getaway.
I love flying and I love the Aleutians. I would rather be there most of the time.
When I travel the Aleutians on business or whatever, my home on the airplane is still in the cockpit, but it's in the jump seat behind the active, the real pilots.
Well, and when you do have good weather out there, there is no country quite like it, is there?
Absolutely magnificent. On a clear, calm day, and I had 2 of them in the 7 years that I was flying for a living.
And both of them you enjoyed immensely. Huh?
Oh, absolutely.
To all of you, on behalf of Reeve Aleutian Airways, it's been our pleasure serving you today. Thank you and have a nice day here in Coal Bay.
It's a little complete world, the Aleutians is. Taking care of our little part of the world. I think that's the future.
If Bob were viewing the operation today, and don't be too sure he isn't, what do you think he'd have to say about it?
What he would say is, you're doing okay, kids.
If you had a chance to convey a message to your dad today, what would you tell him?
I'd tell him that I love him.
I think Dad is kind of smiling.
Among the villages found along the shores of Norton Sound is Unalakleet, meaning, appropriately, place where the east wind blows. On a winter day here, herring boats wait for a new season while people tend to their everyday chores. There are many great traditions in Unalakleet, some centuries old, some more recent. One of the proudest of all Unalakleet traditions was generated here in these buildings, where over 35 years ago, the Covenant Church opened a village high school. Ever since, Unalakleet has radiated educational energy. The school closed in 1984, But in its brief span, it helped spark a commitment to education so great that now Unalakleet boasts more college graduates per capita than any rural community in Alaska. Here, too, another great tradition grew hand in hand with scholastics. The Covenant Wolverines basketball team routinely won state championships, along with honors for the high level of sportsmanship of its coaches and players. Boyack Ryan was among those who learned the values of academic success and sportsmanship, playing for the Covenant High School Wolverines. Now, he dedicates every day to passing on these values to future generations.
We, of course, started playing basketball in this small gymnasium here when we were 10 years old. Mm-hmm. That carried on through high school and even through today.
You're still active, still playing basketball, and your local team of the Unalakleet seniors, I guess, or what do you call yourselves? I suggested the wrinkled Wolverines, which is better than the worn-out Wolverines.
That'd be better.
But you won the semifinals in Nome. You had to fly up there to do it. We flew with Boyack to Nome for the Iditarod basketball tournament. With over 50 teams participating, is the largest tournament of its kind in America.
Block out on the boards, guys.
One more.
Push it now.
Here, Boyack demonstrated that the energy and sportsmanship inspired by Covenant were still very much in evidence.
Back, drop back, drop back, drop back. Now push it up. We got to push it up now. Watch it!
Sorry for that big bump.
That's all right, good game. Here you go. Nice game. Nice game, guys. Hey, well done, young fella.
Not bad for an old guy, huh?
Not bad at all. I tell you, you're inspirational to some of us other mature types.
Well, it's a lot of fun.
Well done. Yeah,
good way to sort of keep in shape.
Today we're going to begin.
In Unalakleet, basketball is more than a pastime. It's a passion. It is also a tool to help sculpt successful adults from the raw clay of youth.
The basketball in Unalakleet has been traditionally successful. Basketball builds stamina for students, and from there, it just transfers into academics.
Don't let the ball touch your floor.
High school basketball coach Steve Ivanoff is another Covenant graduate working to pass on Unalakleet's traditional blend of academic and athletic excellence.
Basketball is very complementary to the future life of our young kids. In order for them to play basketball, we really stress academics, and you know, if they want to be a part of this program, they have to achieve a certain GPA, and I think our standard, the standard that we set, is a little bit higher than what it is for the other schools.
It helps me in school, I guess. I mean, it keeps my grades up high, and that really would help me a lot in college. But education is a lot more important than basketball.
Nice pass, nice pass.
My grade average is 3.6 GPA. Sports has made me feel better about myself. I'm always in shape, and school, I've been taking some hard classes. I've been getting good grades.
Okay, let's run two.
When I feel good on the court, I feel good in school. This place wouldn't be anything without sports. Everybody comes to watch our games, and I think that has an effect on us because everybody brings us up. And
I think sports and academic-wise would help me to get a good chance to go to college and get a future job, and hopefully help the community, because then they did so much to help us in basketball to make us as good as we are.
Now everybody comes to watch us play, and so every time we see them, I just say thank you for coming. Sports motivates you, makes you want to get higher grades and achieve more, do more than what you can do.
Okay, over here, guys.
Steve does put a lot of effort into our ball team. I know he puts a lot of effort into each one of us.
Right
right, just because the ball season isn't over, that doesn't mean that that your Dress for Excellence ends here. I expect every one of you guys to keep up with the grades, and you got to remember, you are the role models of the younger kids. So as far as alcohol or drugs, I'd be real disappointed to see any one of you guys get involved with that. We want to send a message to the younger kids that that isn't cool, all right? I really believe success breeds success, and it's a motivator for the younger kids to see the success that the older kids have. They want to be like them.
Back on defense.
I helped Steve on the coaching in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade in the elementary school, just to sitting on the sideline and coaching.
You're going to have to play underneath at forward position, Gussie.
I'll play under the basket.
Hopefully from the direction and the tradition of basketball in Unalakleet, we're able to focus the youngsters' attention on something productive.
Ready to win? Ready to play hard?
Yeah.
Let's sweat. Let's go.
I'm sweating. What are you going to say?
Go.
Go!
Basketball has brought to the community the same values that survival brought the Eskimos at the turn of the century.
Underneath, Gus.
Turn of the century, Eskimos taught survival skills, skills to use in the wild to make sure you come back home at the end of the day. Since we're not quite so traditional in Unalakleet, basketball brings those same values back into the community.
Way to defense there, Glenn. Good defense.
First off, recognition. Students, whether or not they're on a winning team, gain recognition from the community just by the mere fact of participation. And for Unalakleet, the long winning tradition, we have second-generation basketball players, and you know they wanted them to be successful.
What do you see for the future of Unalakleet?
I think Unalakleet's future is bright. I think the roots that Covenant High School has established in Unalakleet will carry on now for the next 30 years until the next generation.
Unalakleet is basketball.
Stay in school.
Unalaska Dutch Harbor is a place of stark, natural, though often obscured, beauty. Located on the Aleutian chain, it has been appropriately called the Cradle of the Winds. For thousands of years, it has been a safe harbor, first for its Aleut people, then for the early Russians and fur traders, for the gold seekers on their way to Nome, and now for those who fish its rich waters. Here also, the remnants of World War II battles can be found. The Aleuts were taken from these islands when a huge military base moved in. Unalaska has a history of change, but throughout their history of great commotion, the people have held fast to their traditions. But now the community faces its newest invasion. Tens of thousands pour into Unalaska Dutch Harbor from all over the world for their part in this generation's bonanza, the bottomfish industry. The latest wave of commerce has made Unalaska Dutch Harbor one of the largest seaports in the world. Over $300 million worth of seafood is landed here, and its major products, pollock, cod, and crab, weigh in by the tons. But for many, it's more than simply a place to pass through on the way to the boat or the bank. For them, it was a discovery that Unalaska is home. During our visit, we met some people whose busy lives reflect the diversity that is Unalaska's heritage. Frank Kelly passed through Unalaska many times. Then one day, he stayed.
I came to Unalaska the first time in 1972 on a floating process ship. It's been quite an adventure.
Tell me a little bit about the operation.
We process most everything that's available. Product here at Alaska goes worldwide. Probably 80% of our codfish goes to Portugal, Spain, Norway. We also market the roe products that are sold in Europe and in Japan. On the surimi side, the product is going everywhere. We've had product going to France, into Europe. A lot of it goes to the lower 48, Japan, and also Korea now is starting to buy surimi.
Like many Unalaskans, Frank has perfected the art of keeping busy. Among other pursuits, he is the local football commentator.
Well, good evening, sports fans. Welcome to Unalaska's NFL Report. My name is Frank Kelty. In a remote location like this, it's one of the things that keeps you going. You have to be involved, and I'll tell you, a lot of people in this community are involved in many different things. We're still waiting for the phones to ring. If,
Go ahead, feel free to call. Don't be shy.
Make sure all the rows touch each other.
Ray Hudson is a school teacher who came here for just a few years.
I came here in 1964, not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I applied to the school, and after a while, they let me know that first and second grades were available, and so I accepted the job and came out planning to stay 1 or 2 years and read and decide what I really wanted to do. Ended up liking the community and liking teaching.
In his 27 years here, Ray has acquired so deep a respect for the Aleut culture and traditions. He learned many of their age-old arts. He has become a recognized historian of the Aleutian chain's people and culture.
I've been very lucky in having known a number of really remarkable people from this community. And maybe to whatever extent I can help younger folks appreciate some of the things that their parents or their grandparents were involved in. To that extent, I think what I've done here has been beneficial.
There it is.
Father Tim Perry is priest of the Russian Orthodox Church. He calls himself an island lover and former beach bum. Migrating from the Caribbean to Kodiak, and finally here he found his home along with his true calling.
I was ordained 2 years ago, right here in this very cathedral.
My understanding is, Father, that the church does not occupy your entire time. You have other activities you engage in.
Well, there's a lot everybody does here in Unalaska. I have a job over at an international shipping company, American President Lines. I work over there as the manager of the facility. I wonder if I can get a hold of the city clerk. So it's kind of an interesting relationship as I sit over there at the desk without my collar on. And then come over here, get on my cassock and my priestly cross and take up my priestly side. Somehow all the way from Sacramento through the Caribbean up to Kodiak and then now out to Unalaska of all places, I sit here now and I look back and you wonder how you got from place to place. And I still, standing here talking to you, don't know how exactly, it wasn't my decision, let's say, to come out here and stay.
I really love it, and I was just lucky to be able to find that I could do something like this.
When Gert Svarney returned to rediscover her childhood home, she found as well a talent of which she'd been unaware. Her splendid sculptures and carvings in soapstone, wood, ivory, and bone are inspired by her rich Aleut heritage and by her return to the raw majesty of the islands.
One summer, I came up to visit. And when I got back, I said, let's move back home. I just knew that, I always had this longing to be back home ever since I was a kid, since we were moved out by the war. And I can remember, just really longing to be back home. And it just never went away.
Unalaska Dutch Harbor is enriched both by those whose diverse interests brought them here recently, along with those whose roots go back thousands of years. All seem to share a desire to preserve the unique sense of home and community they have found here.
There's a lot of people, I think you've met a lot, that have been here a long time in this community, and they've gone through the boom and bust, and they're still here. I think that spirit will continue in this community because people love this area and like living here.
Something about Unalaska, and I can't tell you definitively what it is that I enjoy, but this is home.
Honestly, moving here has just, absolutely changed my life. It's become more invigorating, interesting, and it's just a nice way to live.
I think the thing that's attracted me to Unalaska and that continues to be an attraction is the people in the community, just a lot of really wonderful folks. I think it's the fact that it's an island community inhabited by people who've been here for thousands of years makes it a very exciting place to live.
Here you go. That's for you.
As you walk down the street some sunny day, You may discover this fellow radiating a few sunbeams of his own in the form of gifts he shares unselfishly. With a few twists of the wrist, Steve Friedel transforms ordinary items into extraordinary forms.
Flower, that's a great gift. Why don't you hold on to it for a second? I've been sculpting out of balloons for about the last 5 years. Well, the word Steve means crown, and for you, Tara, since you're the queen for the day, there is your crown. I decided that I would illustrate and write a book about it. The balloon book is what it's called, and I've got 5,000 copies sitting in my garage. Here you go, that's for you. You can call her Abby if you want. How do you like my elephant? You like it? Well, this is a poodle for Udall. Here you go. It eats purple puppy chow. Okay, so feed it well, and it will last a long time. 2 days or so. My goodness, I can see you guys a lot better now. Hi, how you doing? Here you go. They're yours. Takes 2 hands to handle that pair of glasses. Look at that. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? What?
Steve loves to be with children, perhaps because from them he recaptures some of the magic of his own childhood.
My 7th grade junior high graphic arts teacher had a club after school which I joined and taught lessons at home, and I think I started it off about then. 1, 2, 3, abracadabra. Now I don't know if that'll work. That probably won't work. What? What's wrong? What's going on? Oh my goodness, look at that. It's abracadabra. Look. I find that the more fun that I'm having, the more fun that they have. And I've learned over time that it doesn't matter if I fool anybody, as long as we're all having a good time. Oh, look at it, look. It looks perfect. Look, is it bent? Is it bent? No, it's perfectly straight. Look, you guys, is it bent? Police reports and all the documents that we've had.
Steve practices law when he's not practicing magic, and in between donates his time as counsel to the Anchorage Youth Court.
Knowingly and willingly sign the agreement of your own free will.
It's a group of students that act as judges, lawyers, jury members. They take tests, pass a bar, and they become very active in a group that adjudicates real criminals. The kids that are in trouble can decide to go out of the normal system and have their case tried by their peers. And the judges can issue real sentences. The students learn about the law. They learn about how to communicate. They learn about the world that they live in.
Just when you think Steve might be ready to go home, relax, and call it a day, he shows up someplace else to make a night of it, re-energized and ready for action.
I started on the cello in 2nd grade, taught myself how to play the piano and the guitar and the bass. I can still remember my mother having us play pots and pans around the piano at about age 4 or 5, and I think that's where it all started, yeah.
Steve's also an accomplished songwriter and is currently working with a group of local musicians on an Alaskan album to be released this fall. Alaska Calls is a song I wrote after I'd seen Alaska. It was inside of me, and the feeling of home and the feeling of belonging had solidified. I think deep down inside, the music came first, and it will be the thing that carries me for the rest of my life. Not long ago, something happened to Steve that dramatically changed his life.
Last June, I was vacationing up at Lake Louise, and I noticed I had a lump on my neck, and I had it checked, and it turned out that it was Hodgkin's disease. I ended up having 5 weeks of intense radiation. I would sit at that radiation machine, and I would image that it was going to help me. And I think that psychologically, you can kill yourself as easily as you can heal yourself.
Well, look what I got right here for you. I've got this cat, and this is the cat in the hat, you see?
And I would only hope that I can help some others that are young like myself and to tell them that how they feel about themselves with whatever their problems are is really going to help them to either heal or to harm themselves in some way. When we grow up, when we're young, we always feel like we're invincible.
Immortal, you bet.
Immortal. We can drive at 90 miles an hour and fly high, and we never really think about the consequences of that. I think about the consequences of things a lot more than I ever have. I know that life isn't going to be forever, and my purpose has kind of changed. My purpose today, I think, is just to make sure that I'm healthy and make sure that I appreciate my life at every moment, because it's the only one that I have, and it may not be here forever.
Hoo, hoo. See you later, guys.